What if the darkest chapters of history weren't buried in the past, but still echo in the world around us? There's no denying it. European colonial empires redrew the map, but at a staggering human cost. The pursuit of wealth, power, and civilization left scars that haven't faded. Why do the lessons of colonialism still haunt us today? From forced labor to cultural erasure, the consequences are everywhere. These are just some of the most harrowing acts committed by European empires. The Atlantic slave trade? That's a story for another day. Let's begin in the heart of Africa, the Belgian Congo, 1885 to 1908. King Leopold II promised progress but delivered terror. Under the guise of civilizing, he seized land and lives for ivory, rubber, and timber. The world watched as Leopold's agents forced Congolese men into the forests, holding their families hostage. Miss your quota? The punishment was brutal: floggings, mutilations, and worse. As demand for rubber soared, so did the cruelty. Soldiers, part of the notorious force publique, hunted down those who resisted, leaving villages in ruins and families shattered. Hands and even lives were taken as proof of obedience. Outsiders like George Washington Williams pleaded for change, but the suffering continued. By 1908, international outrage forced Belgium to take control, but not before up to 10 million Congolese perished. A fortune built on suffering leaves a legacy of pain. Next, British India, where famine became a weapon. From 1865 to 1943, millions starved as colonial policies prioritized exports over lives. In Orissa, the government ignored hunger until their own soldiers suffered. By then, a third of the population was gone. Even as crops failed, food was shipped abroad, leaving families desperate. The Bengal famine of 1943 stands out. Parents abandoned children, people ate grass, and up to 3.5 million died. Was it neglect or something darker? Let's cross the ocean to the Americas. In 1519, Spanish conquistadors arrived in the Aztec capital Tenochtitlan. Gifts and greetings turned to betrayal as Hernán Cortés seized the emperor and unleashed violence. The massacre at Cholula was just the beginning. Thousands perished, cities burned, and smallpox ravaged the land. By 1568, only a fraction of the Aztec population remained. What would you do if your world vanished overnight? South Africa, 1900 to 1902, the Boer Wars. British forces, fearing rebellion, rounded up Dutch and African farmers, Boers, and confined them to camps. Conditions were dire. Disease and neglect claimed thousands each month. By war's end, nearly 27,000 Boers and up to 20,000 black South Africans had died in these camps. The cost of control? Generations lost. Empires rise on the bones of the forgotten. Kenya, 1952 to 1960, the Mau Mau uprising. As the Kikuyu people lost land and rights, resistance grew. The British declared a state of emergency, arresting thousands. Violence escalated, villages punished, prisoners tortured, and entire communities uprooted. Official numbers say 10,000 Mau Mau were killed, but human rights groups estimate nearly 1 million Kenyans were executed, tortured, or maimed. Can a nation heal from wounds this deep? Let's return to South America. In 1532, Spanish conquistadors led by Pizarro met the Inca ruler Atahualpa. What began as negotiation ended in betrayal and bloodshed. The Spanish executed Atahualpa, seized treasures, and dismantled the Inca Empire. Disease and war wiped out nearly 90% of the Andean population. Imagine losing nearly everyone you know. How would you survive? Australia, 1790s to 1890s. British settlers arrived bringing disease and violence. Aboriginal communities faced massacres, forced labor, and cultural erasure. By 1920, their population had plummeted by 90%. Children were taken from families, stripped of language and identity. How do you rebuild when your roots are torn away? Algeria, 1954 to 1962. French rule tightened as independence movements surged. Peaceful protests met with gunfire. Entire villages bombed and burned. Torture became routine, and estimates of Algerian deaths range from 900,000 to 1.5 million. What price is too high for freedom? Haiti, 1990s to 1804. Enslaved people and free people of color united against French colonial rule. The revolt was met with brutal retaliation, mass executions, drownings, and suffocation. By the time Haiti declared independence, 400,000 had died, most of them enslaved. The leader, Toussaint Louverture, never saw the victory he fought for. Does liberation always demand such sacrifice? Namibia, 1904 to 1907. German colonial forces responded to uprisings with genocide. The Herero and Nama peoples were driven into the desert, hunted and confined to camps. Orders were clear: no mercy, no survivors. Up to 80% of the Herero and thousands of Nama perished. When does memory become a warning for the future? Indonesia, 1945 to 1949. The Dutch tried to reclaim their former colony after World War II. Indonesian fighters resisted fiercely, facing mass executions and torture. The Dutch lost 6,000 soldiers, but Indonesian casualties remain uncounted, thousands, maybe more. How do you measure the cost of independence? Ireland, 1846 to 1852. The potato famine devastated the country. 1 million died, another million fled. British policies worsened the crisis. Food was exported while people starved. Soup kitchens closed and hope faded. What happens when help never comes? India, 1919. The Amritsar massacre. British troops opened fire on unarmed protesters, killing hundreds and injuring over 1,000. For 10 minutes, bullets rained down on people gathered for a religious festival. The official death toll was 379, but the real number may be much higher. Can a single day change the course of a nation? History's shadows are long. The legacies of colonial empires aren't just stories, they're living realities for millions. The pain, the loss, and the resilience of those who endured demand to be remembered. What will we do with these lessons? If you found this journey eye-opening, please like and subscribe to Winds of Thought. Share your thoughts below. What chapter of history should we explore next?